Hello there. Welcome to HowDoWeHuman. I'm just practicing my southern drawl because we're talking about drawing today.
I say that is correct.
This is a podcast where we overanalyze all of the weird and uncomfortable micro moments in life. And I'm one of your hosts, Evan Cox.
I'm your other host, Foghorn Leghorn.
Today, we're talking about drawing. I got it wrong. But it was in
Got
my
it
notes
wrong.
and I couldn't erase it. Evernote
Now
won't
you
let
and I
me
both have to
anymore.
take that L out of the word and talk about our main topic.
We gotta do it. But before we get into that, we talked about it last week. You knew we were talking about drawing. I don't know how I got so mixed up. Before we get to it, I gotta ask this fella over to my right. Not how we're currently, but how we'll be in the video. The guy to my right.
I hope
Chris.
this one time I'm on the left. Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that. How you doing? I forgot the question.
Yeah, I almost answered it before you asking it, so it's fine. I'm doing all right. This is an issue I have with a company we've often slammed.
Oh, I'm ready.
Yesterday, in the middle of me perusing the interwebs, my Spectrum internet goes out.
Oh boy.
And Spectrum, as a company, is pretty difficult with their customer service and troubleshooting processes. On when the internet's gone out in the past, sometimes on their app you can just go through and be like, hey, this isn't working, and they can try and remote fix it. But Spectrum has completely redone their app, given it a full makeover.
Yeah.
In which the troubleshooting services and the help chat are significantly harder to find. So I end up Googling it and doing it through Google on my phone to get the Wi-Fi back up. And the chatbot goes through the processes and is like, showing great signals. Is it fixed? No. Okay. And then we go through a bunch of things. It's like, I have to reset your modem. Resets the modem. Did that work? No. Okay. I'm going to reset the router. Actually, I can't reset the router. Would you like to continue with an agent? And so I say yes. And then it directs me to an agent into the chat. And the agent is like, all right, I'm here to help. What's your name? I give my name. And then they're like, what can I do to assist you? Like, what seems to be the problem? I go in there and I start typing out the problem. Yeah. What do you think Spectrum does at this point?
Fixes the internet.
You clearly don't know Spectrum that well, because the answer is completely signs me out of my account and the chat. Quote unquote, for my safety.
Oh no.
And so I get back in there, and the agent has left a message in there that says, thanks, glad I could assist you today.
Awesome.
You haven't done anything. Luckily, they were still able to respond when I sent the message, and they were able to eventually help me get that Wi-Fi back up. But it's just another example of Spectrum customer service issues running rampant, but will never be solved.
No, what may have been solved, though, I think we did just find our end of the show game show. You don't know Spectrum.
I mean, I was really worried when they sent me the message that was like, would you like to continue with an agent? And I was
Yeah.
like, oh no, they're going to make me call and I'm going to talk to that guy that Evan had to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to judge me, um, and ask about why do you have such brand loyalty to your phone company when you could have the loyalty to us, a company
Yeah.
that is not always reliable.
No, and has like one of the lowest rated wireless services I've ever seen.
Evan,
Yeah.
how you doing?
I'm fucking tired. And I
Yeah.
think I look fucking tired today. You already know the general story I got here because I told it to you
Yes.
over Panda Express.
Yeah.
And as any important story should be told over orange chicken.
Yeah.
It's been clear for a decent amount of time that I seem to have sleep apnea. I do apparently the big snore, gasping for breath, wake myself up several times at night. And so I finally, this is like a year's process after, I don't know, did I tell that story about the other terrible doctor who, when I'd asked for a sleep study and I wasn't able to see my primary care physician because that's how it works at Kaiser. You have to go through them to get sent over there. And that doctor hopped on a video call with me, not my primary care physician, someone else who was awful and was just like, shrugged it off like, no, you definitely, she's like laughing, like, you definitely don't. You're far too young. You don't have sleep apnea. I'm like, okay, but I'd still like to get the test. And she's like, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So finally I mentioned it to my psychiatrist and she was like, okay, yeah, that's very serious. We'll get you in. They finally get me in out here. I get that sleep test. The part is when I was they're setting you up and telling you how the machine works that is testing, because it's an at-home test. You stick to your chest, wear on your wrist and your finger, etc. They're like, so the incidence, what they call an incident, every time you stop breathing in your sleep, and 0 to 5 incidents is nothing. 0 to 5 incidents in an hour is nothing really to worry about. 10 to 20, that's something to worry about. 30 and up, that's severe. And my test came back and I stopped breathing an average of 56 times every hour. So nearly once a minute.
Yep.
So it was a big eye-opening, like, oh, I haven't actually had a good night's sleep in years. Bad news bears right there. The reason I'm maybe I'm just bringing it up in general to say, like, that's fucking insane. But
Right.
there is a follow-up now. Just yesterday, we were taking a trip to the dump. We gotta take
yeah.
toot. We gotta take dump trips
Yeah.
to drop off all our garbage. It's very nearby us. It's exciting. We love going to the dump. We could do an episode about the dump. The people at the dump are the best. I love them. We love the dump out here. Anyways, as I'm going out there, I have an iPhone, and on iPhone you can set it to like numbers you don't know, it won't ring. So It's not going to ring you'll get a notification you missed a call. If they leave a voicemail, you'll get that, but you're not bothered by the 30 fucking spam calls I get every day.
Yeah.
But one of them was a Kaiser number, and I had a voicemail, and I listened to it. And it was a woman saying, she's like, this is, I'll just make up a name. This is Jessica from the sleep clinic. I'm calling to let you know that you're eligible to participate in a research study. And I'm like, oh, my sleep is bad enough that science is knocking.
Yeah.
they want to see what's happening. So I gotta call them back because my initial instinct was like, I'm not gonna fucking do that. But then Jocelyn's like, are they gonna pay you?
That's
like,
what I was gonna ask. Is, are they gonna pay
well,
you?
now,
Well,
snore,
I
snore.
do declare.
I declare, Your Honor, I do snore a spell. Now I'm just doing Kevin Spacey, which no one wants to do.
No
Kevin
wonder
Spacey.
you can't get a good night's sleep.
My conscience.
I thought it was going to be the doctor who laughed you off calling to say,
coming back.
Hey, I have to apologize.
Oh God, that'd be so good. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, there are people in my life going, you've got to have that info. You got to be able to find that person and get them in trouble. Like, that's really, really bad. The sleep clinic people agreed. Like, I can't believe someone did that. That's awful. But I'm like, it's solved for me. I don't know. I'm not in the business of getting people fired.
let them cause problems for somebody else with my same condition.
All I know, they're whatever you call it. They are a primary care physician, just not mine. And maybe they're very, very good at that.
Hashtag not my primary care physician.
Hashtag not all primary care physicians. So I'm just letting
after
that
we
go.
spend several minutes before this episode complaining that After Midnight does hashtag jokes.
We're in.
We're current. Put us on the show, Taylor.
You listening, CBS? We're current. Long story short, I got to make that call. Do I want to be a part of science? Kind of. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've never been a part of a research study before. I think I want to call and ask, like, is this just about me, or is this going to be like a group study and I'm not that important? Because I want to feel
right.
important. I want to feel like the freak in the room.
Yeah.
Make me an elephant man, por favor.
Speaking of elephant men, you ever drawn anything like an elephant man?
There we go. That's good. I was going to say something about like drawing conclusions, but also, have you ever
drawn an anthropomorphic elephant with like a little suit and tie and a briefcase?
What if they remade the Elephant Man for kids? It was just Babar.
That's true. You know,
here's a current joke. A picture of of John Merrick. I'm going to tell my kids this was Babar.
It's, you know, for as like, I feel like a lot of kids really love elephants, right? They're just
and David Lynch,
fascinating animals, and yet I can't think of very many like children's elephant characters.
There's Babar,
right? I mean, these aren't like super current, but you know, there's Tantor from Tarzan. The elephants in the Jungle Book.
Peppa Pig is kind of an elephant.
Oh, here we go. The Sebastian the Crab is kind of a lobster, but Peppa Pig is kind of an elephant.
She's kind of
Here he goes again.
It feels like she has a longer nose than a pig needs. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Body shaming Peppa Pig. Put us on the show, Taylor. We're current.
I'm just saying, Peppa, you could have a nose job. We'd like you a bit more.
Yeah, and maybe smile a little bit more, Peppa.
Maybe smile, Peppa. All right, this was all in jest. Peppa, we love you.
Peppa, you go, girl.
You go, girl. Go get him.
Slay queen.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting thought. Where are
Yeah.
all the children's elephants? I feel like we're missing
Yeah.
one, and I think it's a stuffed animal I had as a kid.
Yeah. Okay.
So we should all remember that elephant.
Everybody remember?
Yeah.
Everybody remember
Oh,
Stampy
man.
from The Simpsons?
Yeah. I don't know. We gotta
Fascinating
Google this.
stuff.
It is. You ever drawn an elephant?
Yeah, and you know what? They're kind of hard to draw, so that's probably why there aren't a ton of elephant characters.
Uh, yeah, I don't know that I have. Oh, of course. I mean, reaching way the fuck back. Do not forget old Dumbo.
Sure. Yeah, and the pink elephants on parade.
Yeah, and in this video I just looked up, Blippi meets an elephant.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but
Blippi meets an elephant. Don't worry.
yeah, okay.
You don't know who Blippi is?
No.
Get on it.
All right, fine.
We're losing our children listeners.
Okay, Blippi is a little colorful guy.
That's right.
Cool.
Took the world by storm.
Never heard of him.
Whoa! Get on it, Blippi. Maybe a nose job? Maybe smile more?
That's all in jest, of course.
Oh, we love you, Blippi.
Slay queen.
We just
Evan,
have
you know,
a template for insulting and apologizing cartoon characters.
In the last episode, you were talking about how you drew Jar Jar Binks.
Damn straight.
Are there other drawings you remember drawing?
Oh yes, of course. I think we both talked on an episode, or maybe it was off mic, that we liked drawing, like, essentially cartoon strip, like Sunday cartoon strips.
Yeah.
So I was very, like I said, with the Jar Jar thing, I was very into, I was not a tracer. I didn't like tracing. Although I noticed when I traced, things looked better. I accept that.
Right.
But I wanted to get better at it. And I was always very into drawing cartoons. The main story I wanted to tell that relates to this. Very popular show when I was a child. Los Rugrats. I loved the stuff. What can I say? And these are weird, lumpy-headed characters that are fun to draw. They have very lumpy heads. That's not good for a baby, I don't think. But anyways, we apologize, Tommy.
Slay
we love
queen.
you, Sway. Oh, we're ahead of the curve here. Sway is coming soon. Anyways, so I would have like here's a sad like childhood to adult thought. I would have, like drawing, whatever you call them, notebooks, I guess. That's drawing paper. And like draw something on every page. Sometimes it's a little comic. Sometimes it's just a Jar Jar Binks portrait. Sometimes it's old Tommy Pickles. And I have a bunch. I have like 5 of those drawing notebooks now, and they're fucking empty. And that's sad. There's still something in me trying. That's like, I gotta reach back to my childhood.
Yeah. I mean,
but it's empty. I got nothing.
I have that same kind of trajectory as well, where I did a lot of drawing as a child, and then I've mentioned on the podcast all through college I had a comic strip in the
that's right.
school newspaper every week.
That's awesome. Jealous.
but similarly, I have um several sketch notebooks that are empty.
Yeah.
Or I've like used maybe one page or something. Because it felt like when you were in school and you were drawing, people were like, "That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool." And at a certain point, people stop thinking that it's cool that you can like draw little cartoons,
Yeah,
and
that's
instead are
true.
kind of like, "Come on, man. What are you doing?
What are we doing here?
What, you drawing cartoons? You're an adult. It's time to invest in cryptocurrency." Like,
We do one thing here.
we do one thing as adults, and that's invest in cryptocurrency.
Oh,
Unless you can turn your cartoons into an NFT, bro, useless. I do
that's
think
true.
this is unrelated, but I do think it's very funny how NFTs seem to have already gone.
Very validating.
You and I were talking about how I watched the Kevin Hart heist movie
True.
Lift.
Yes.
The opening scene is them stealing an NFT. And it's already like, oh my
Awesome.
god. But anyway,
Killer.
there's a line in the movie where Kevin Hart says, "God damn, I love that NFT." Anyways,
we missed the boat there. We should have just drawn up some stupid shit and sold them to people. That was
yeah.
the thing to do. Not invest in NFTs. Draw a stupid fucking monkey.
What's I've kind of found recently though, like I stopped drawing, I think, um 5 years ago. I mean, every now and then I'll like draw like one little like doodle, but
Yeah.
I was drawing pretty regularly and stopped about, I guess maybe closer to 6 years ago at this point.
Okay.
And we'll get into why in a little bit. But I was when I was in Ohio a couple months ago. My fiance's family, one of the games they like to play is Telestrations, which is
Okay.
a game where you and I, when we wandered around Barnes and Noble the other day, we saw it
Yes.
there. But it's everybody gets like a dry erase pad notebook, and you the first person writes a word on there.
Right.
And then I think maybe the first person also then does the first drawing,
Draw.
and then everybody passes their notebook to the person next to them, and then that person has to see that drawing and then write what they think it is, pass it again, that person sees that word, has to draw it, pass it,
Nice.
and then people keep guessing, and so it's like a game of telephone, hence the in Telestrations.
Sounds fun.
But that's, a game where suddenly everybody's like, "My God, Chris, we didn't know you could draw. Chris, you're so good at drawing."
Ooh, it's back.
And so now it suddenly is starting to feel more like, oh, people do find it like interesting again.
Yeah. If it
Um,
helps them win something.
So have you had that experience where, like, since you've stopped drawing, maybe you've drawn something kind of random and somebody's been like, "Wow, that's really cool that you can draw"?
The funny thing is, like, when I was younger, I would draw cartoons and try to get them as close to what they're supposed to look like as possible. And as I got older, when I was like a teenager and up, I started wanting to draw more realistically, and I could never do that. I drew one picture of Bob Dylan that came out pretty good. Everything else I ever drew, woof. Maybe a handful of things I got good feedback on, like, oh, that's good. But, I never took like a drawing class or an art class like that. And so in that sense, I I don't know. I would argue to say I accidentally developed a little style as I suck at drawing realistic things. And now, if I'm ever going to draw, it's like when you get older and a lot of people accept, like, you know what? I'm a stick figure person. This is what
Right.
I can do. That's all I can do, and I'm not gonna push it. I just kind of realized, like, nothing I draw will look real. Aim more cartoonish. And so my girlfriend, which, hey, she likes me, so maybe she's biased. But she is a artist and a graphic designer, and she sure likes my little drawings. I've got a couple of, I guess you'd call them caricatures. I'd call them a couple of little cartoon versions of she and I on a whiteboard on our fridge, and she really likes that. So I drew a picture of her dog, and she likes that a lot too. So I'm getting some feedback here,
Nice.
and I think as I've gotten older, I've just found my lane, and I'm going to stick to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny that I did this with an ex girlfriend, where neither of us are like particularly good at drawing, and so it was like we're just gonna sit on a couch across from each other and draw each other, and just it's a dangerous game.
Oh, yeah.
It's scary, but
Yes.
it was pretty fun. The outcome is pretty funny.
That was when I was in high school, this girl that I had a crush on
Yeah.
um saw that I was good at drawing and asked me to draw her. And that
Mm-hmm.
definitely was like a stressful
That's a lot.
thing, especially when you're like hoping, the best case scenario in your little
Yeah.
teenage mind is like she's going to see this and she's going to fall in love with me.
Yeah.
Unless a single thing about it is bad, and then she'll hate me. um
Yes.
so that was definitely very stressful. Luckily, I think it came out okay, but it
Whew,
like
you did it. Oh.
I find it very difficult to draw women, and mostly I find it difficult to draw like multiple women and have them all look different, I think, is the bigger
Mm,
issue that I have. Like if I were to
okay.
draw just a woman, you'd be like, "Yep,
There
that
she
looks like a
is.
woman to me." Um but if I were to draw several women who all have like roughly the same hair length, I
Mm.
don't know that you would be able to tell.
You need a very distinct defining difference.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's because like, even though um like in real life, of course, there are all sorts of different like uh facial shapes of men and women. I seem to only be able to like do one and have it still look feminine.
Yeah.
But with guys, it doesn't seem to be as like it doesn't seem to cross my mind as often. So I can
Yeah.
draw all sorts of different um looking dudes.
Is that what you like to do these days? Just drawing different looking dudes? Get
Yeah.
that elephant man back in here.
Yeah.
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 Well, what a dream way for that to go. Even though that does sound like a fucking nightmare of stress to
We were
have.
on a flight back from a speech and debate tournament,
Oh
and so
man,
I had to draw it on the flight.
on the fly.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about
Um,
lift. This is the movie.
um, so I had to draw it on the airplane, and so there's also turbulence involved, which like, hey,
That's
maybe you can use to your advantage of like, hey,
absolutely. I would.
it was a little bumpy out there, so but yeah, but when we landed, like I handed it to her. I think I drew it on like the drink napkin they give you.
Yeah.
Um But yeah, it was a very stressful flight to be
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I hope she likes it.
I think we can make a solid thriller in the air out of this story. Well, you were in high school. A crush saw you drawing and said, "Wow, you're amazing. Can you draw me?"
Yeah.
This is what happened to me. I was in high school and I was drawing something, and a crush of mine leaned over and was like, "What are you drawing?" And I'm like, "It's from Star Wars." And she's like, "Ew." I forget exactly what she said, but it was very surprising because she was a very nice girl. And I'm
Yeah.
sure still is. But it was very like she was so put off by that. I think I was just like drawing a picture of the Death Star or something.
Yeah.
What can you do? I was
Yeah.
annoyed. But, and I gotta zoom back. I gotta tell my little
Normally Evan rolls back, but
I'm
today he's
zooming back.
zooming back.
Well, you gotta zoom. If I were to roll aimlessly, I'd end up, we don't know, 40, 50 years in the past. I'm not even that old. And then we're in trouble. I would no longer be in control of my destiny, which I am now. I'm zooming back, which sounds faster, but we're gonna just go zooming back to earlier in the episode. I was talking about drawing them Rugrats.
Yes.
So I had these notebooks, and I wonder if you recall being a youngster and being told, "Hey, listen, motherfucker, tomorrow, this is all the notice you get, 24 hours. Tomorrow, it's show and fucking tell day. You better bring something good, kid, or we're all going to be mad. We're all going to be mad at you." So, when you're like a little kid and they're like, show and tell, you're like, this is my elephant stuffed animal. At that point, I don't know how old it would have been. Old enough, like that point when you're a kid, but you start getting a little self-conscious and,
Yeah.
or maybe that's just people like me. But so I brought in a drawing book, which in retrospect, bold, really taking a step out there, putting yourself out there. And so I think by this point already like a Star Wars fan. So I'd drawn a lot of shit like that I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I wanted people to see all these cool drawings I did. And then there's this guy, Steven, and everyone loved it. They were flipping through and they're like, wow, he's a really good drawer. But then Steven, he flips too far back and he sees some shit I didn't realize was in there. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is going to kick my ass. Because he flipped to my drawing of the Rugrats. A little drawing of Tommy Pickles and Chucky Finster. And Tommy's got a speech bubble and he's saying, let's go on an adventure.
Okay.
I don't know why at the moment that felt like the lamest fucking thing in the world when I was trying to put on a really cool face.
Yeah.
And this guy, and he's a big guy, and Steven's like, that's awesome. It was totally just like, that was his favorite thing in the whole thing. And so that should have just be like, wow, validating. I'll take that forward and I'll keep drawing. But that, I hated that. I just don't like showing my stuff. I don't like showing stuff to
Yeah.
people. It's hard for me.
It's hard. It's hard to do. And especially like, I think most people are pretty supportive, or at the very least not interested, but
Yeah.
like still polite.
Yeah.
But that the other group of people, the people who are critical and snobby and rude,
Yeah.
are out there, and you never want to like roll the dice. Like the risk versus reward
Yeah.
it's not good enough for somebody to like to
Right.
completely like shit on your work versus somebody being like, that's cool. Like
Yeah.
they're not equal. And the risk is much higher than the reward.
100%. Yeah, like I noticed at a certain point, like all of these things I wrote down in my notes are me having to show someone my drawings and how terrible that makes me feel, even when people like them. I'm just like, I don't. But I don't know what the takeaway from that is. Just like draw shit to do it and enjoy life.
Yeah.
But speaking of comics, I've got a little book of them right over there. I'm not going to go get it, but they're there. My favorite little buddies, Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
And I used to draw and write my own Calvin and Hobbes stories. And that was a really fun process. And then, there was a time, I think my mom was like, you should show him. That's not what my mom talks like at all. You should show him to my friend. She's visiting. And I did. And she loved it. But again, for some reason, that made me just feel terrible. There's something wrong in my brain that gets positive feedback. And still to this day, it's an issue with me. I'll hear positive feedback and find a way to just like, they're lying. It's not true. It's maybe now I think it's the worst thing I've ever done. And I should stop. I would love to find those, though. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, when I was doing the comic strip in college, there were, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us that had comic strips in the paper.
Nice.
And so at one point the head like comic artist, I don't remember what his title was, but he was like, you know what, we should have like meetings once a month or once a quarter, maybe even, just to like hang out and talk. And maybe occasionally there were a couple times where we did like a theme where everybody had to like follow the theme. And there was one time where we did like crossover comics.
That's
where
fun.
like you draw half of it and you send the other half to somebody else, and then they like cross them over with the different styles, which was cool.
Yeah.
But I remember feeling like most weeks my comic strip was the best. You know what I mean? There were a couple weeks where mine was a little rough. There was one time there was one week, it was like the 4th week or something that I was doing the comic strip. And I was like, you know what? It would be cool if my comic strip followed like a plot. And so I did it for like 1 week. And I was like, well, there's not really a joke here. So I'm never going to do this again. Anyway, most of the time I felt like mine was pretty solid.
Yeah.
And so we have this meeting. I finally get to see the faces behind some of this other artwork and some of these other like jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were leaving the meeting, and this one girl was talking to me and was like very complimentary and very like, oh, we should like hang out or do something. And it didn't occur to me until like years later that she was flirting with me.
Yeah.
But I was kind of, I was kind of like, well, yeah, of course my comic strip is good, and hers isn't as good, so of course she wants to talk to me.
That makes sense.
And then it only it dawned on me like years after graduating that's not what it was not about my comic at all.
There's a pretty clear delineation in that of like that strictly is the thing. Sometimes people have other realizations as they get older, but that's just a constant like, oh, that was flirting too.
Yeah.
Oh, that was flirting. Like, more people liked me than I realized.
Yeah, and I think it kind of ties back into that same, like, anytime you get sort of like positive
Yeah,
validation, it's easy to just write it off as something else instead of what it actually is.
they're being nice. What they actually think is ew.
Right. This is a
Story of
kind
a
of
girl.
a good time to segue into a listener question.
Ooh,
Um,
love them.
this is from Jordan Parker. He wants to know, what
Hey.
was your go-to doodle as a kid? The cool S,
Yeah.
a 3D cube, an
Oh
eye.
yeah.
What did Evan? What was his go-to?
So, lean back, y'all. Think about this. I was a big into, like everyone my age was big into the S. The 6 lines, connect them all. Hearing the 3D cube thing that did go like, oh wow, yeah, that was also a thing people drew. That I don't see talked about as much. I was never good at the 3D cube. I think, and that comes through in my drawings today. Whenever I do one, I cannot for the life of me draw a straight line. I can't draw a perfect circle. These are not things that will ever occur.
Yeah.
So, drawing a cube, mine always would end up a little rounder than they should. I don't know why that is. But at a certain point, I'm like, ooh, rulers. They rule, and I can just use
Or
those. But otherwise, when I was a little older, like I'd say in high school, I did have a little doodle. I would doodle all the time, doodle all the way. Rockadoodle. You ever heard? You ever heard of Rockadoodle? It's a good movie. Little Don
uh,
Bluth picture.
is this real? No,
Oh
I've not
yeah,
heard of this.
it's on YouTube, and I rewatched part of it recently, and it holds up. Don Bluth rules. It was a good fucking movie. Anyways, the doodle I would rock a doodle all the day. Was a little fella. It was basically a little face, and that face could go anywhere. A face could go on a person. I often would draw it on the sun. It was just two very wide little eyes without a nose and a smile very up close to the eyes. And that's how I would draw the sun, and it made me smile. And now, a friend of mine from back then sent me some comic artist that draws in that style, and he's like, "Is this you? Like, did you become famous?" I'm like, no, but I've seen it. It's like a thing now. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I saw someone else do it first. Or
Yeah.
maybe I started a trend, and other people are profiting off of it. Just saying. But yes, otherwise, the S when I was younger. Doodle that S. As I got older, that little sun.
Would it surprise you to learn, Evan,
Yes.
that I don't think I ever drew the S?
Really?
Yeah.
I made it because it has kind of been coming up more recently. I think as people my age get older, shit like that because like we got to post this on social media.
Yeah.
Remember that? And it did make me wonder because I knew like my older sister. I feel like her grade they also would draw. I think that's who I learned it from. But I wondered like where that bubble stopped because clearly kids don't do it now, so it stopped at some point.
They were definitely still doing it,
Okay, just not you.
just not me.
Do you
And I think
know
it's
how to do
like
it?
you had your older sister teach you how to do it, and I don't think I didn't
Mm.
have an older sibling to teach me how to do it. Um, and I think I tried it once or twice, and I was like, this isn't it. This is wrong. So I don't think I ever figured out how to draw it.
That's me with because I got that down pat. I still know how to draw it, and I'll teach you.
Okay, great.
It'll be a cute moment. But for me, that is like the cootie catchers folding that paper.
Oh
Anything
yeah.
folding paper. Because we had Japanese exchange students come over when I was in elementary school, and we did a bunch of origami. It was like we're doing 1,000 origami cranes, and so I made like I don't know 30 probably in that time period. And I have no fucking clue that folding paper does not stick in my memory. I even tried
Yeah.
to fold a paper airplane recently, the cool way, where you make it like whoa, 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 really aerodynamic. Nothing. I folded paper. That didn't stick. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't fold paper, but I can draw an S.
Yeah. I can't fold paper either. I can't do a paper airplane.
Damn, it's brutal.
I know. Um, I my go-to drawing, to answer that question really quick, it was
Yes.
usually like there were two things that I drew a lot.
Okay.
And one of them was like a cartoonish version of myself. Usually in whatever class I was in, and like drawing me in the class, probably being bored. Um, or there was a little monkey that I used to draw.
Okay.
And so I would draw that monkey quite a bit.
That's
I
fun.
named him Samson.
It's a
But
good
he
name
was
for a
just a
monkey.
little, right? He was just a little monkey. I get, there were a couple other little like friends that I would draw for him, but for the most part, it was like he was the main one I was drawing.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
but when you were in school, did you have an art class ever?
Ooh, I'm actually not. Only in like elementary school, not anywhere past that. Not, and by elementary school, I mean like very young. Like I don't even know if first grade. I might just be thinking like kindergarten. Like
Yeah. Okay.
no, not really. Unless I'm insulting some teacher. I
Yeah.
forgot that taught me a lot of drawing stuff. I
I
don't
mean,
think
I don't
so.
remember having show and tell, so I mean, maybe that's
Yeah,
maybe we just had different
different
things. But
ethos.
I remember, I think it was in middle school, we had an art class, and one of like there was always an assignment in like every art class
Yeah.
to do a self portrait,
Oof.
but it was never like just draw yourself in whatever style. It was always like draw the most realistic version of yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking why?
Fucking
None of us
why?
are able to do this. Why are we doing it?
If I had to guess, it's because the teacher gets to collect all those drawings and laugh at them later.
Bravo, you're
That's what I
probably
would
right.
do.
Yeah.
No, try to make them as realistic as possible.
But it kind of like, well, in screenwriting, I would write, more comedy focused, and that kind of gets looked down upon as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the most melodramatic bullshit you've ever read in your life.
Yes.
Similarly, like I feel like my style of cartooning was also looked down upon in those art classes and art
Yeah,
like styles.
there's a lot of that. 'Cause there is something to, and this is off topic at this point, but it was the same when I was in film school. I made like one pretty dramatic thing. But then everything else I wrote and shot myself was like hyper comedic, particularly stupid and silly comedy shit. And it always felt like we being the other people there, we like this. This is funny. Good job. It's not good,
Yeah.
but you made us laugh a bunch. I'm like, well, isn't that good then?
Yeah. And
Isn't that just good enough?
little did you know that when you and I took our improv practices, that we would also be told this was funny, you
This
made
was
us
funny.
laugh, but it is not good.
But you did it wrong. You're not very good. Yeah, no, there is bias there towards cartoons and comedy, but isn't that some of the most fun shit in life?
It
And I
is.
like both. I love me a big old horse pillow melodrama, but make me laugh.
That's probably why I like. Also, that probably plays into too why I assumed that those two different girls. Certainly, they weren't like interested in me. They were because
Yeah,
I was drawing lowbrow cartoons.
yeah.
I mean,
They were
One of
interested
them
in your
asked me,
money.
of course, to draw me like one of the French girls. I was like, you got it. A big beret, a black and white striped shirt, holding a baguette, and also an
These are my
extra
French
long
girls.
cigarette. A thin curly mustache.
Draw me like one of your French girls. That is
Standing
funny.
in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Yes, there they are, my French girls. I love them. I do have a listener story.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. This is from my sister. But she was there was something that was funny. What was it? We were talking because she was listening to one of our episodes. There it is. She was in a auto waiting room, which apparently we both love, because I love a
Runs in the
auto
family.
shop waiting room. And her kids were at daycare. She didn't have much to do at work. I'm like, yeah, that's the perfect day. That's beautiful. So she was sitting there listening to our podcast, and she does have a story, because after we got talking, I asked her, but she just said, I just laughed so hard and everyone stared at me. At Chris not knowing if he was part of a watermelon eating contest or not. That's such an absurd thing to not know. Yeah, I didn't really check that when I was listening to it. But that is a funny thing to not be sure about.
I remember the venue, and I remember being there. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
If I
did you shove your face in a watermelon? Maybe.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is I believe you were allowed to use your hands. So they were slices. It wasn't
memorable.
It wasn't like a half. They cut a watermelon in half, gave one to one contestant, one to the other contestant.
There's a good possibility that you went there, you watched a watermelon eating contest, and then went, you know what, watermelon sounds kind of good.
That's the thing.
Got some watermelon and ate some.
I've eaten so much watermelon in my life that it's like, who knows if I was just imagining myself up on that stage,
watermelon delirium.
Down. Yeah, that watermelon sugar high.
Hey, we got him in here. Welcome, Harry.
Welcome, Harry.
Welcome, Harry.
Yeah. Another school-related thing was when like there'd be group projects or something, and there'd be an element of the project that needed to be drawn.
Oh, sure.
That was always like my time to shine.
Yeah.
I remember in freshman English, we were supposed to draw scenes from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh. Fun.
Yeah, I think that this was in freshman English. And I drew the scene that I was assigned one of the courtroom scenes, which is like, hey, if you're gonna get assigned a scene, well, that's a good one because
it's also
lots of characters.
Audition for a job, courtroom sketch artist.
Well, yeah, I did not. This example did not get passed along to the Phoenix legal system, but I drew one of the courtroom scenes from To Kill a Mockingbird, but I had replaced every single character with a Simpsons character. And my teacher loved it.
Oh,
she was like, "Oh my! Like, can I keep this to show future?"
It's pretty solid.
Future classes, and like that's the highest compliment.
Yeah,
you can get. In junior English, we had an assignment that was essentially the same thing, but it was for the Grapes of Wrath. And so I was like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so I drew the Simpsons in Grapes of Wrath.
Oh, no, he did it.
And it didn't go over as well. But I do remember saying, and it's one of those things that still haunts me to this day.
Oh no.
I told the teacher, "You can keep it if you want." When she obviously did not want.
Brutal.
Yeah. Awful.
That's very funny though.
Yeah, I mean, The Grapes of Wrath was one of my least favorite things that I had to read in school. And I took multiple opportunities to take shots at it, which was not appreciated in the classroom.
I've made that mistake in a history class once, thinking I was funny, taking shots at something, and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? This is school, dummy."
We had I know we had another assignment in that class that was like, "Hey, write in the style of one of the authors that we've read from," and I was like, "You got it." And so I wrote as Steinbeck, who wrote The Grapes of Wrath, and I wrote The Pineapple of Rage, and and in that book, we had to read it aloud in class. Our author imitation stories.
Oh no.
And so I read mine, and in The Grapes of Wrath, sometimes we go into these chapters that are 100% unrelated to the plot.
Yeah.
And are just about like bugs in cornfields.
100%. The book starts about wheat and just talking about what it looks like and feels like.
And so I wrote the longest short story in the class because I was like just going after this classic American novel. But the class loved it.
Hey.
Uproarious laughter. Not so much from the teacher, but
happens.
That's not who I was playing towards. But anyway, do you want to get into the reason that I've stopped drawing? Mostly stopped, unless you have another thing.
Well, I do need to actually read this listener's story.
Oh, I thought it was about
we were just talking. That made me laugh. Just real quick, related somewhat to that. She says her childhood trauma is that awful art teacher in elementary school. So validated, there was art teacher in elementary school.
Yes.
Person's mom, not specifying who it is, had our class draw pigs in a farm for the fair to put up, and I made purple and orange crazy colored pigs. And she scoffed at me and made me do it again because it wasn't realistic. A family friend of ours is still friends with her, and she sees her every now and again, and she hates her. Never let that go, Ashley, because that is what we're talking about. Yes. It doesn't all have to be realistic. I love a crazy colored pig.
Of course.
Peppa, that's a realistic colored pig with a absurdly long nose. We're kidding. Slay
Queen.
We love you, Peppa Pig. Anyways, just wanted to get that out there. I relate. And let's hear what crushed yours, because what crushed me might have been my crush. Not being into Star Wars. It's hard being that age and realizing like not all girls like Star Wars.
Oh, for sure.
But I found one that did.
It's a combination of two things. Number one, the main like I would draw stuff by hand, but I hated coloring stuff in. But I knew that things often looked better when they were colored in.
Yeah.
So I would draw it by hand, then I would take a photo or scan it, get it onto my computer, and use what was Macromedia Flash.
Okay.
That became Adobe Animate. Yeah. But use that to then trace over the scanned image and then be able to color everything in nice and solid.
Yeah.
That was what I did. that was how I did my comic strip, was doing it that way. And then I would, because I used the same characters over and over for the comic strip, I just drew them the once, and then I would kind of tweak
Yeah.
their facial expressions or body posture
Digitally.
in the computer. But Adobe Animate made it very clear that they wanted to take as much money as possible by only offering that program as a subscription, when I had originally had it as just a one-time purchase.
We love that about
Um,
Adobe.
yeah, and that it would run extra slow,
Mhm.
and not be a very good program. The Spectrum Internet of drawing programs,
Why
if you will.
pay $200 once when you can pay $20 2,000 times?
Exactly. And so that was a big part of it. But the other part was when we were all on an improv team together.
Whoa.
You know, we were
it
throwing it
happened.
back to our improv team mystery machine.
Yeah, so this is a throwback, not a rollback or a zoom back.
No, not a rollback, not a zoom back, but a throwback.
Okay.
And we were like, we got to figure out ways to like really get ourselves out there, get people to know that we have shows.
Yeah.
And so I did a mock-up of like, I drew all 8 of us.
You did.
Some significantly better than others.
I thought they were all awesome. I was very impressed.
I made sure to put sunglasses on all of us. And then put us all like recreated several movie posters that had like 8 faces on it and plugged everybody in. And that then we could post those with like the show dates and locations if people wanted to come check us out.
Yeah.
I thought that the you know, that's nice and bright and colorful and eye-catching.
Totally.
I got the impression that not everybody on the team liked it. But more than that, there was one that I did using the poster for Baby Driver.
Yes.
There's 6 of us up in the corner, because I think there were 6 people on the poster.
Yeah.
There are 8 of us. And so there's also a car on the poster that's like driving on the road. So I just put the other 2 people in the car.
Yeah.
I put the steering wheel on the wrong side of the car. And the significant other of one of the members on the team very clearly pointed it out in a very like, haha, that's wrong.
Oh no.
Look at you, I'm so funny kind of way.
Yeah.
And that was, that undid the years of validation.
No.
I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm done.
Fuck it.
And so that combined with not wanting to give Adobe a lot more of my money
Yes.
for a bad product really kind of took away my enjoyment. And I'm ever so slowly starting to draw a little bit again, but it's few and far between. But that's
wow.
That was the big nail in the coffin for my drawing enjoyment for a long time.
I'm gonna get more details about this after we're done recording.
Absolutely.
I was a big supporter of those, I believe, unless I wasn't at the time. But I love those. I thought those all were awesome.
I mean, I think that we could probably. You probably can guess who may not have loved them as much, but
I think my problem is I'm trying to think of like who was in a relationship at the time, and the only other person I'm thinking of is me.
Like, it was
is that my significant other?
No, it was not. We'll talk about it after we're done.
Wait. Oh boy! But the funny thing is, really quick, not to interrupt, but I am.
Right.
But I have a similar thing, not where No, people did notice. So I guess a very similar thing. But this was in middle school, and I believe I already told this story. It's maybe the cringiest thing the second cringiest thing I've ever been a part of.
Is the
Where
first when you wrapped your Secret Santa gift in the band class and it looked like a penis?
I'll put that third.
Third, interesting. Now it's getting
things
good.
get worse. Or maybe it's just things that make me cringy. But it was me and like my best friend at the time. We ended up kind of having a falling out, and he moved away. We saw each other again years later, and we were like, "Man, I'm sorry," and a big hug. It was great. So we're on good terms, and by that I mean I haven't spoken to him in 20 years. He's not on social media, so how do you keep up with these people that he lives in a different state? Like, what am I, get your phone number, call you all the time?
Yeah, what am I gonna do? Text you, see how you doing?
What the fuck is this?
Remind you that, like, I care about our bond?
Yeah. What am I, Barry Bonds over here? Yeah. Anyways, so we were both very into video games, but we, like you and I have talked in the past, we love ourselves a Mario, games
Absolutely.
like that. Nintendo just put out a lot of fucking bangers in my childhood. And so he was a big Nintendo fan. And this was around the time when the PlayStation 1 was all the rage. And I didn't have one, but I'd go to my neighbors and play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Absolutely. A banger.
Some of the times in my life. Some of those times. But he was anti-PlayStation. He was like, it's too focused on the graphics. The games aren't as good. We want simple games like Mario, and that's it. And he wanted to do this like takedown magazine with the idea that it would be like a monthly publication that was like PlayStation Sucks magazine or something like that. Something very dumb. And I was like, I like, but I've got a Sega, Nintendo. Yeah, those are good too. Sure. He wanted me to do the artwork. He was going to write all the articles, scathing reviews.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to do all the artwork. And I was like, fuck yeah. The cringy part of it, like, whatever, that is just some shit that happens. The cringy part is that we went to one of the teachers and asked if we could anonymously put a bunch of copies of this magazine in the room, and if he would announce it, that people could go pick it up. So this got circulated, and it was pretty widely derided and mocked, and it was very fucking embarrassing. And I don't know if it ever became 100% clear that we were the people that did it, or if it came out, but I always felt very fucking embarrassed about this because it was less my axe to grind. Anyways, where it relates is the cover. He wanted the cover to be a character from Street Fighter named Sagat. Yeah, I didn't play Street Fighter a bunch, so I like, give me a picture. I think he got me like a Nintendo Power magazine with a picture of him. He's like a boxer. He's got his wrists wrapped, and he's got like an eye patch, a lot of a scar, an eye patch, a lot of distinguishing features. I'm like, this will be a blast. I could do this. And I draw the cover, and it's not until we've printed all of these out and we put them down that he goes, or so one of my friends saw it and was like, you gave him 2 left hands. I sure as shit did.
Yeah.
Thumbs on the same fucking side of each hand. And I'm like, it's too late now. But to this day, I think about that sometimes. I've never let it go. For some reason, it digs deep to just be like, you forgot what humans look like.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
I mean, hands are definitely one of the most difficult
hands
things
are
to
awful.
draw.
I hate drawing hands. I can't do it. It's bad.
Yeah.
Anyways.
You know what's good, though?
What's good?
This podcast and all the places you can listen to it. Am I sure? I don't know.
Oh, the places you will go listen to our podcast.
Yeah, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Ow.
Amazon Music,
Yeehaw.
Pocket Casts,
Whoop, whoop.
HowDoWeHuman.com.
Zip zow.
Anywhere that you get your podcasts. You can even get the full episodes on YouTube with video.
Whoa,
But we'll get to that in just a second. You can rate, review, like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. Really try to, much like that magazine, get us circulating out there, but don't let us get mocked, but let us get circulated out there. Let people find us. And you can find us on different social media. You can find us on Instagram at HowDoWeHuman.
Oh, we got that handle.
You can find us on Facebook at HowDoWeHuman.
I don't think you're ready for that handle.
You can check us out on YouTube at HowDoWeHuman.
Hey, look, it's Chelsea Handler.
Oh yeah, we'll have to talk about award show monologues too after we get off of this episode. But last but not least, you can send us an email to howdowehumanpod@gmail.com.
The best part of that handle is that it's an email.
All right, and as we mentioned in the last episode, in case anybody doesn't know, we've abandoned our plugs at the end, and are instead
we abandoned our boys.
Last episode, Evan asked me the trivia question of what do I think Bosch's first name is and what his profession is.
And you came very close.
Hopefully in the next episode we have like a trivia thing that we can find where we can both try to answer the question. But right now I have a question for Evan.
Okay.
It's a one-parter. So
and
we'll see we'll see how easy it is for you. I don't know. I just need you to give me the name of Vice President Harris's husband. First and last name. Can you do it?
Oh no, I don't think I can.
It feels like
fascinating.
A pretty easy thing, but also
you
hardly ever see him.
I had an instinct, so I have to go with my gut.
Okay.
But it hurts when it's just like, I mean, I think any vice president, what do you call their spouse? The second? Second husband?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you call it second ladies? I'm just say what popped into my head, which is Paul Harris.
That is incorrect, Evan.
Damn it. Is it Paulie?
No.
Damn it.
We are looking for Douglas Emhoff.
I was so close.
Was the answer.
Douglas Emhoff. I'm never going to remember that. That's impossible. Write in and let us know if any of you knew that before he said it. I'm very curious to know if that name has stuck in anyone's head.
Yeah, I didn't know the answer when I thought of the question, and so I tried to ask myself, a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I definitely felt like I knew his first name, and then I just kind of associated the last name with it, but I wasn't confident. But yeah, hopefully in the future we'll have a 2-person trivia. But until then, it's time to say okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.